Welcome to My Healing is Your Healing, a podcast for the woman who is ready to stop performing and reclaim her voice. I'm your host, Celeste, and around here, we don't do surface level. We go deep. Each week, we'll explore concepts like self-discovery, radical honesty, and the kind of healing that rewrites your story from the inside out. This is a space for truth-telling, for remembering who you are, and for coming home to yourself, louder, braver, and more radiant than ever. So come as you are, and let's do this together. Let's begin. Welcome back to My Healing is Your Healing. I am your host, Celeste, and today we're talking about rest. This is not the kind of rest that we collapse into once we're completely drained, resentful, and running on fumes. This is also not the I finally crashed on the couch and I don't even feel better kind of rest. Today we're talking about rest as a strategy. Rest as leadership, as something that you choose before your body forces you into it. Because here's the truth in all of this. If you are the CEO of your life, and you are, then rest is not a luxury. And it's not a reward. It's not even something that you sprinkle in if there's time left over. This is how you run the system. It belongs in your schedule. It belongs in your routine. And it belongs in your life just as much as eating, working, training, and showing up. It should feel normal and expected and like something that supports you, not something that you have to justify. But I really want to talk about why it doesn't feel that way. Because most women don't just struggle with rest because they don't want it. They struggle with rest because it feels unsafe. And I really want you to sit with that thought for a second. It doesn't feel inconvenient. It doesn't feel annoying. It just feels unsafe. Because we have been taught in so many ways that rest has to be earned. That sitting down is only allowed once you have done everything. That slowing down means that you're lazy and unmotivated or falling behind. And especially in American culture, this is everywhere. Busy is a badge of honor. Overloaded schedules are normalized and exhaustion is almost expected. You ask how someone's doing and their answer is always like, I'm just so busy. Like that is the gold standard, like the goal. And so when you look around and you see everyone else constantly on the move, constantly producing and doing things, it becomes really easy to believe that if you slow down, you are the one doing it wrong. But here's the part that nobody really says out loud. Everything is never done. There's always another task, another message, another thing that you could be doing. So if your permission to rest is tied to being done, then you will never give yourself that permission. And what happens then is subtle, but it's also powerful. Even when you do rest, you don't actually rest. You sit down, but your mind keeps running. You stop moving, but you start thinking. You're on the couch, but you're still mentally in your to-do list, or replaying conversations, or anticipating what's next. And then there comes this guilt of, I should be doing something, or I'm wasting time. I need to get up, be productive. And suddenly, this rest that you're trying to have doesn't feel restorative. It feels like failure. It feels like you're falling behind in real time. And so, of course, you avoid it. Of course, you stay in motion. Because at least movement feels productive, even if it's exhausting you. So let's talk about what's underneath that. For many women, productivity has become this quiet proof of worth. Not because you consciously choose it, but because somewhere along the way you learned it. You learned that being useful made you lovable, that being needed kept you safe, and that doing more made you more. And so now, rest doesn't just challenge your habits, it challenges your identity. If I'm not producing, then who am I? If I'm not contributing, do I still matter? And if I slow down, will everything fall apart? And this especially hits hard for high-functioning women because if you've built a life around capacity, you're the one who figures it out. You are the one who gets it done, the one that people rely on. And there's pride in that. But there is also pressure. Because when you are used to being the one who holds everything together, rest can feel like letting go of control. Like if you stop, things might slip or things might drop. Things might not get handled in the way that you would handle them. So instead, you keep going. But here's the shift I want to offer you. Rest is not about doing nothing. It is about nervous system repair. And this is the part that most people miss, because when your nervous system is constantly activated, when you're always thinking or anticipating or managing or holding things together, your body is working, even if you're not moving. You can be sitting still and still be completely depleted because your brain is running and your body is bracing and your system is still in output mode. And then you try to rest, you sit down or you stop, or you give yourself a moment and your body goes, absolutely not. Because rest is not the absence of movement. It's the presence of safety. And your nervous system has to feel safe in order to actually power down. And if it doesn't feel safe, it will keep running. So what does that even look like? You sit down, but your mind speeds up. Or you stop working, but you start thinking harder. You try to relax, but your body feels restless and tense and unsettled, like something's unfinished, like something is about to fall apart or that you're going to fall behind. And I want you to hear this clearly. That is not a discipline problem. This is not a you need to try harder to relax problem. This is your nervous system that has been trained to associate stillness with risk. Because at some point, slowing down did not feel safe. Maybe love came through achievement, or attention came through being helpful, or maybe stability came through being the one who held everything together. And so your system learned something very simple. If I keep going, I'm okay. If I stop, something might go wrong. And now you're trying to rest, but your body is still operating from that rule. And so of course it feels uncomfortable. It feels wrong. But what's actually happening is this. You're asking your system to do something that it hasn't learned how to do yet. And that's why rest has to become intentional. Not something that you collapse into, but something that you practice. Because rest is not zoning out or numbing or scrolling or distracting yourself. Rest is anything that brings your system back into regulation. And those moments where your body can soften and your breath can slow down and your mind isn't 10 steps ahead of you racing. It's when you feel here or present again. And that might look like stillness, but it might also look like going for a walk or taking a pause or a quiet moment in between things. Because the goal is to not stop doing. The goal is to stop bracing. And when that clicks, rest stops being something that you earn at the end of exhaustion and starts becoming something you integrate into your life. Something that supports you while you're building your life, not after you break. And that is where everything is going to start to change. Because like we said, rest is not about doing nothing. It's about nervous system repair. So when you're constantly moving task to task, role to role, obligation to obligation, your body never actually gets the message that it's safe. It just stays on. And when your body doesn't feel safe, it can't regulate. And when it can't regulate, it can't think clearly. And when you can't think clearly, your intuition disappears. And this is where so many women get stuck without even realizing it, because it feels like confusion or indecision. Like, why can't I figure this out? And the issue is not that you're incapable. It's just that your system is so overloaded and you're trying to access clarity from a state of survival. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a fire alarm. So let's slow this down a little bit, because creativity doesn't live in urgency. Creativity doesn't live in exhaustion, and alignment certainly does not live in survival mode. They live in stillness. So I really want to walk through each of those with you. Creativity. Creativity needs space. It needs openness. It needs moments where your brain is not being pulled in 10 different directions. Because creativity is not linear. It's not sit down, produce, execute. It's connection and curiosity and your brain wandering just enough to stumble into something new. And that doesn't happen when you're rushing from one thing to the next. It happens in the in-between. For clarity, clarity is quiet. It's not loud or urgent, and it doesn't fight for your attention. It shows up when things slow down just long enough for you to actually hear yourself and to notice what feels right and to notice what feels off. And when you're constantly moving and thinking and reacting, you override that signal. You don't lose clarity, you just can't access it yet. And alignment. Alignment is not something that you logic your way into. It's something that you feel in your body. It's that grounded sense of, this is right for me, this fits, it feels like me. But survival mode blocks that because survival mode is about speed. It's about reacting and getting through, not about choosing with intention. So when you start creating this space, even these small moments of space, you'll start to notice a shift. Your nervous system gets a chance to soften. Your thoughts slow down and you feel less reactive and more aware. And suddenly you have access again to your ideas and your preferences and to yourself. And then there's this pattern that keeps women stuck in the opposite of that, which is forced momentum. Once you're moving, you stay moving. Errands turn into obligations, and obligations turn into work, and work turns into the evening. And before you know it, the entire day has been spoken for because you never actually paused. You just carried yourself through. And by the end of the day, you're fried, and your brain is tired, and your body is tired, and your nervous system is waving that little white flag like, please, just give me something, give me a second, give me a break, a sense of safety. And instead of giving it that, we avoid it because stillness feels uncomfortable. Silence feels uncomfortable. We don't want to sit with whatever might come up inside of us, feelings, thoughts. So we reach for something else. We scroll or dissociate or pour a glass of wine and numb out. And we call that rest. And yes, it may be good or helpful sometimes, but it's not always. And that is your system trying to recover from this overuse, this battering ram that we call our schedule. And that is not restoration, that is survival. And here's the part that's almost ironic. That discomfort that you're avoiding, it is so short. It's like this little wave that lasts for a few seconds, where that initial moment of stillness in your body goes, I don't like this. It passes. But we don't give ourselves the chance to even move through it. We interrupt it immediately. And so we never build this capacity to actually rest. And so sustainable energy starts to look different. It includes pauses and transitions and breathing room. It's like getting to have a buffer between the moments. Like when you walk into a house and there's that entry space before you're fully inside, right? You don't go straight from outside chaos into the middle of everything. There is this transition, and your life needs that too. Moments where you pause and reset and then move into the next thing. Because your energy is not infinite. It is cyclical, just like the seasons. The world does not live in summer all year long. There are seasons of growth and seasons of rest. And both are necessary because without rest, nothing renews. Without pause, nothing can integrate. And strategic rest doesn't mean that you disappear for a week. It means little micro resets throughout your day. 5 minutes between meetings, 10 minutes outside, or just even a breath before responding instead of reacting. And it means saying no before you become overwhelmed. Not because you're already exhausted, but because you know that you're protecting your own capacity. It means protecting your white space, not filling every gap in your calendar just because you have 5 minutes there. Because white space is not empty. White space is where things land. It's where your body catches up. It's where your mind processes. And where you actually feel your life. And it means choosing enough over more. It means knowing your capacity and being able to respect it. And I'll be honest, this was the hardest lesson for me. As a single woman maintaining a household, a demanding job, creative work, and marathon training, rest certainly felt indulgent. If I canceled plans or felt too tired, I felt like I was failing something or someone. If I had a quiet Friday night, I felt like I was wasting time. There was always this voice in my head saying that you should be doing more. You should be out. You should be productive. You should be maximizing this life that you have. And underneath was this fear that I was missing something, that something better was happening elsewhere. But when I started to intentionally choose rest, not collapse into it, but choose it, something happened because I wasn't running on edge anymore. I wasn't constantly bracing for the next thing to happen. I could actually be where I was. And from that place, I started to show up differently. I was more present. I was able to be creative and more steady. Not because I was doing less, my calendar had the same amount of things on it, but because I was no longer draining myself in between everything that I was doing. And that shift is very subtle at first. But once you feel it, you do not want to go back. So back then, when my days were nonstop, my evenings were numb. And I didn't realize that at first because I just thought, I'm tired. Of course I'm tired. But it wasn't just this physical exhaustion. It was like I had nothing left of myself at the end of the day. And so I would default. I would scroll on my phone. I would reach for something easy, whether it was wine or ice cream or cookies. Something comforting that didn't require anything from me because I had already given everything away during the day. But when I started allowing these micro resets or these micro rests during the day, moments of pause or presence where I actually let my body regulate instead of just pushing through, something changed. I didn't need to dissociate at the end of the night anymore. I wasn't grasping for something to take the edge off. I could actually choose what I wanted to do. I could read or stretch or reflect, and I could create. And I wasn't doing these things from a place of depletion. I was doing them from a place of choice. I wasn't dragging myself through the evening. I wasn't laying on the couch feeling like I had nothing left and then going to bed at 7 p.m. just to escape the day. I was still me. Stillness didn't make me less productive. It didn't take anything away from my life. It gave me clarity and presence. And it made me feel competent again, like I could actually hold my life instead of just barely surviving it. And I want to say this really clearly because burnout, I used to think that burnout was a badge of honor. And at one point, being busy became part of my identity. I'm so busy would always come out of my mouth. Like I would say it like it was just proof. Look how much I'm doing. Look how much I'm carrying. Look how much I matter. And then people would validate it and they'd be like, oh my gosh, same while you're doing so much. And it felt good for a second, but being exhausted does not make you impressive. It just makes you unavailable. Unavailable to yourself, unavailable to the people around you, and unavailable to your actual life. And the women that I've met, the ones that are truly magnetic, they are not the busiest, but they are the most regulated. They know their routines, they know their capacity, and they know when to push and when to pause. And there's something about them that feels different. They are present and grounded, and they have space. They have energy, and you can feel it. You want to be around them, not because they're doing the most, but because they're actually there. They are not depleted or scattered or running on fumes. They're steady. And that feeling is powerful. So I want to give you a simple practice to take with you this week, and it's a question like it usually is. It's something that you can ask yourself during the day or even at the end of the day as a reflection. What would rest look like if I trusted myself enough to allow it? Not if I earned it, not if everything magically got done, but if I actually trusted myself to take it when I need it. And you can pair this with the awareness piece. How am I feeling right now? Am I reaching for comfort or am I actually okay? Am I reaching for something else outside of me, like wine or snacks or scrolling or TV, just to numb out? Or do I still actually have the capacity to choose something that supports me in the life that I'm trying to build? Because there is no judgment in this. It's just awareness, because once you see that pattern, you can start to shift it. So you can look back at your day and ask, where did I push too far? Where did I override myself? And where could I have added just a small moment of rest? Not to overhaul your whole day, but just to start adjusting. To start supporting yourself differently, because rest is not a reward. It is maintenance. And this is the funny thing to me, is you do not wait for your car to break down to add oil. You don't wait for a plant to completely shrivel before you water it. Your body deserves that same level of care. Consistent, intentional, and supportive. And when you start treating rest as a strategy, you don't lose momentum. You gain longevity. You gain sustainability, and you gain this version of yourself that can actually keep going without burning out in the process. So, if you want to practice this in real life, in real time, come join us inside the Radiant Women's Collective. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, and we have conversations just like this, spaces where you can reflect and be seen and start making these shifts in the way that actually sticks. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, you were never meant to dim your light. Thanks for tuning in and being here, for healing out loud, and for walking this path beside me. If this episode cracked something open or helped you remember a part of yourself, pass it on and share it with someone you love. For more support, free resources, or the next steps to your journey, head over to my website, myhealingisyourhealing.com. And if you loved today's conversation, subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your words help this space grow and help more women find their way home to themselves. If I was your muse today, then my healing is your healing. Until next time.